a seat. Good morning, Your Highness, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning, and welcome to the final day of Abu Dhabi Finance Week and the Sustainable Finance Forum. This year's edition is hosting leaders representing 62 trillion in assets, so I'm really excited to be with you for the final day, and I am honored to be sitting next to you, Your Highness. Thank you so much. Your Highness, you're an entrepreneur, an academic, an environmentalist, and a leader in sustainability, climate change, and you're a CEO. It's this inspiring story. I am so inspired, and I know that this audience is as well. I just want to begin today by hearing how you got here and a little bit about your story.
Thank you. Since I was very young, I enjoyed being out in nature. It's always been a passion of mine to go out riding in the desert and to really be in the great outdoors. And we're very fortunate here in the UAE to have a lot of nature and places to enjoy it. I've also been very fortunate to have two incredible leaders. My great-grandfather, His Highness the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, founder of the UAE, and my grandfather, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa, who also cared deeply about the environment. But back in 2011, I went on a humanitarian trip with my parents to Somalia. And that was the first time I experienced the impacts of climate change on internally displaced people. And from that day onwards, I decided that I would spend my time and energy driving impact within this space. So I went back to study. I went to the University of Cambridge and did a master's degree in sustainability leadership, which really helped me build the foundations of the ventures that I've built. So Alliances for Global Sustainability, which I launched 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago, Aurora 50, Frontier 25, and the Climate Tribe.
I love this story, and when we first met, you told me this really inspiring story, and it's just so amazing to hear because you made a choice back during that trip, and then for the rest of your young life, that you really wanted to make a difference, and you have such a beautiful country to start that work in, and then of course moving that more globally as well. And you've just had a really significant shift with your nonprofit moving to Frontier 25. Tell me about the significance of that.
So Frontier 25 was established as the UAE's independent climate change accelerators back in 2022. We are continuing our mission with renewed focus as a climate action advisory. I'm really excited by the potential that the green economy space has. Actually, a recent report by the World Economic Forum stated that the global green economy surpassed $5 trillion this year and is expected to grow and surpass $7 trillion by 2030. So we are here with local knowledge and expertise, working with our stakeholders across the ecosystem to capitalize on this potential and navigate growth within our region.
And I'm so impressed by this emirate and this country's focus on really preserving things like the mangroves. Can you talk to me about some of the projects you're working on? I know that are very close to your heart that we should keep an eye on. I know the mangroves is one of them, but other kind of big projects in the country right now.
I would say mangroves are really important because they deliver so many ecosystem services. So they sequester more carbon than terrestrial trees. They protect our coastline. And so for me, I really enjoy going on walks in the mangroves and through the Climate Tribe, we've actually set up beehives with the community, and we're teaching beekeeping courses. So protecting those really small insects.
I need to come and do one of these courses with you. I've been saying I will for some time, so I'm going to take you up on that in the new year. When you think about, and you work a lot with boards, your work is so important, not just on climate, but also to achieve gender equality here and globally, but especially on boards. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But when we think about investor mindsets, how do we shift that mindset to really focus on sustainability metrics rather than just financial returns?
That's really interesting because traditionally we've focused on, within the business world, growth linked to profits. And we have these short-term quarterly reporting cycles. But what it doesn't take into effect is actually the people and the planet. And when you want to see impacts within those two spaces, it usually takes a longer term. And so there was a recent study that was done by the World Bank on air quality and the health implications of air pollution on human health. It actually costs us $6 trillion, which reduces our global GDP by 5%. So now, if we look at the triple bottom line rather than just profit, we will be in a much better position to mitigate the financial risks of climate change.
The triple bottom line, I really like that. I think something we need to cover, and we do cover on CNBC, but it's a really important note. When you think about women-led businesses, they actually attract less than 2% of global VC funding, which is shocking. So how can your work and kind of these sustainable finance initiatives really ensure inclusivity and support these underrepresented innovators in this space?
Firstly, thank you so much for bringing up this fact, because actually you raising this helps raise awareness amongst a wider audience. And it is a staggering statistic that causes a major issue for female founders and people working to drive change. So on the I would say the diversity side, McKinsey released a report that stated that if women participated equally within the economy, they would generate by now, and this was a 2023 report, $28 trillion to global GDP. And so it's really important for us to make sure that when we make decisions, and we all have unconscious biases, to really step back and intentionally put those biases aside and ask ourselves, does this person or this business, are they able and are they well equipped to get that investment or not?
So interesting, and it is a staggering statistic, and it's so good that we're talking about it, because we don't enough. And when you and I first spoke, I was really shocked. I cannot believe it's less than 2%. And you see such amazing women-led businesses in this country. I mean, we just saw 3 women CEOs with Multiply Group coming together, and you don't see that everywhere. So I think this country is doing such an excellent job in really promoting and ensuring that women are really pushed onto boards and really leading, as you are working in that space so much.
I think as well it's representation.
Yeah.
And so when we think of the National Federal Council in the UAE, which is our parliament, 50% are women. And so that is reflective of a society.
Absolutely.
So it's so important to have diversity. It creates resilience for companies.
It does. And when you think about, and we talked a little bit about boards in the region, but how can these boards really embed climate realities and gender balance into their decision making? And what role can you play in driving this corporate governance?
So I've been really passionate about creating solutions to drive more women on boards. And a few years ago, under Aurora 50, we created the Pathway program, which gave women the experience and tools to sit on a board. And so since then, we've seen an increasing number because our policy has changed in the UAE to include one woman on every listed board. And that was work that we had advocated for during the time. And now my focus is really on how do we bring climate onto boards. And so I am very fortunate and honored to be the chair of Chapter Zero UAE, which is a local chapter of the Climate Governance Alliance that sort of educates and creates that network for board members to learn more about the impacts of climate change.
And we spoke about this. You're really a bridge creating that network, because you said to me when we spoke a few weeks ago that some of these boards and some of these companies don't know who to tap into and where to find that talent. How are you working as a bridge? It's amazing what you told me, and I'd love you to share that with the audience.
So when we design solutions, you really need to design it well from the very beginning. And so what we found with the women on boards, we looked at all the challenges that women faced. Some were cultural, some were just that those women didn't profile themselves well to be known as suitable candidates for those boards. And so we helped them on the journey through a one-year program. And many of them now sit on listed boards, so I'm really proud of that.
So impressive. You're going to help me interview them on CNBC, I hope. Before we wrap up, I want to end this amazing session with a real call to action and a sort of final takeaway. The year 2024 marked the first time that global temperatures breached 1.5 degrees centigrade. So when we think about that and we move into 2026, what action should we take, and what should be our audience's final takeaway from you here today?
Well, we need to act with urgency, and I think being inspired by nature, and specifically the mangroves that have a rich biodiversity, they're a rich biodiversity sort of ecosystem that supports one another for growth. So imagine if we took that approach and asked ourselves, how can businesses learn from nature? And in the business world, we're all about competition, and competition is healthy. But business 2.0 is collaboration.
It's a wonderful final word for us to end on. Your Highness, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Thank you all to our audience, your excellencies, your distinguished guests. I hope to see you all again, and enjoy the rest of your Finance Week.